perfect wisdom, with the divisions of the Abhishamaya. Translated by Edward Conze. University of California Press, Berkeley, Los Angeles, London. Translation of the Sutra. Chapter 9, The Sign, the Object, Aspect and Distinction for Strong Patience. If, O Lord, a bodhisattva, who is unskilled in means causing imperfect wisdom causes in form, etc., or in any idea about form, etc., being permanent or impermanent, etc., then he courses in a sign, and not in perfect wisdom. If a bodhisattva, who is unskilled in means coursing in perfect wisdom thinks that I course in perfect wisdom, then he courses in a basis, then he courses in a sign. And likewise when it occurs to him that he who courses thus courses in perfect wisdom and develops it, this should be known as a bodhisattva's lack of skill in means. Sariputra. For what reason should that be known as a bodhisattva's lack of skill in means? Subhuti. Because such a bodhisattva, when coursing in perfect wisdom, insists on form, etc., perceives it, is intent on it, and in consequence he courses in the formative influence of form, etc. I know that he is not released from birth, decay and death, sorrow, sickness, lamentation, pain, sadness and despair, that he is not released from the great suffering. And if a bodhisattva is unable even to realize the level of a disciple or pratyekabuddha, how much less can he know full enlightenment? That is impossible. It is thus that a bodhisattva, who courses in perfect wisdom, should be known as unskilled in means. Sariputra. What should be known as his skill in means? Subhuti. A bodhisattva, who courses in perfect wisdom, does not insist on form, etc., does not perceive it, is not intent on it. He does not course in form, etc., nor in the sign of form, etc., nor in the conviction that form, etc., is permanent, etc. And why? For what is the emptiness of form? Not that is form. And no other than form is emptiness, no other than emptiness is form, etc. It is thus that a bodhisattva should be known as having skill in means. A bodhisattva, who courses thus in perfect wisdom, is able to know full enlightenment. Furthermore, a bodhisattva does not course in perfect wisdom if he approaches any dharma, or does not approach it, or both approaches and does not approach it, or neither approaches nor does not approach it. Sariputra. For what reason does a bodhisattva, who courses in perfect wisdom, not approach any dharma? Subhuti. Because the own being of perfect wisdom cannot apprehended. And why? Because perfect wisdom has non-existence for own being. In this way a bodhisattva does not approach the idea that I course in perfect wisdom, or the idea that I do not course in it, or I course and I do not course, or I neither course nor do I not course. And why? For he has approached all dharmas as having non-existence for their own being, and has not appropriated them. If the thought of a bodhisattva, who is thus coursing in perfect wisdom, does not become cowed or stolid, does not tremble, is not frightened or terrified, then it should be known that that bodhisattva is near to the knowledge of all modes, the object, aspect, and distinction for weak highest mundane dharmas. That knowledge of all modes, again, is not two nor divided, on account of all dharmas having non-existence for their own being. This is the concentrated insight of the bodhisattva which is called non-genesis of the own being of all dharmas, vast, noble, and fixed on infinitude, to which no disciple or pratyekabuddha can lay claim. When he dwells in this concentrated insight, a bodhisattva will quickly win full enlightenment. Sariputra. Dwelling in which concentrations will a bodhisattva quickly know full enlightenment? Subhuti. Gives a list of concentrations, the object, aspect, and distinction for medium highest mundane dharmas. The bodhisattva and his prediction. This bodhisattva has surely been predicted by the Tathagatas of the past. Also those Tathagatas who just now stand, hold, and maintain themselves in this world, they also predict the enlightenment of such a bodhisattva, such a great being. One who dwells in these concentrations does not, however, review them. He does not think with regard to any concentration, I am concentrated, I will enter into concentration, I have entered into concentration, I am entering into concentration. All these discriminations the bodhisattva does not have, does not get at. The object, aspect and distinction for strong highest mundane dharmas. Sariputra is then a bodhisattva, who has stood in these concentrations, predestined to enlightenment by the Tathagatas. Subhuti. No indeed, Sariputra. And why? Because perfect wisdom is not one thing, concentration another, and the bodhisattva another. The bodhisattva is precisely the concentration is precisely the bodhisattva. And both bodhisattva and concentration are identical with perfect wisdom. Sariputra. If concentration is not one thing and the bodhisattva another, and if the concentration is precisely the bodhisattva and the bodhisattva precisely the concentration, on account of the sameness of all dharmas, is it then possible to show forth any of these concentrations? Subhuti. Indeed not. Sariputra. Again, does that son of good family perceive any of these concentrations? Subhuti. No, Sariputra. Sariputra. How is it that he does not perceive? Subhuti. Since he does not discriminate it. Sariputra. How does he not discriminate it? Subhuti. Because no dharma has existence. It is in this way that a bodhisattva does not perceive any of these concentrations. Sariputra. How is it that he does not perceive it? Subhuti. Because of the non-discrimination of any of these concentrations. The connection with the discriminations in general. The Lord. Well said, Subhuti, well said, you whom I have declared to be the foremost of those who dwell in peace. It is in such a way that a bodhisattva should train in the perfection of wisdom, and in the other perfections, in the 37 dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment, etc. 2. In the 18 special dharmas of a Buddha. Sariputra. When he trains thus, a bodhisattva trains in perfect wisdom. B. Lord. So he does, and that because he does not apprehend it as a basis. Sariputra. What does he not apprehend? The Lord. He does not apprehend a self, or a being, etc. 2. One who sees the skandhas, the elements, suffering, origination, stopping, the path, the triple world, the unlimited, the trances, the formless attainments, the pillars of mindfulness, etc. 2. The Buddha Dharmas, the stream winner, etc. 2. The Buddha, and all that on account of the absolute purity of these dharmas. Sariputra. What then is that purity? The Lord. The unproduced, the unmanifested, the unascertainable, the ineffective, that is called purity. The first discrimination of the object to heat. The discrimination of ignorance. All is ignorance. A Sariputra. When he thus trains, which dharmas does a bodhisattva train himself in? The Lord. He does not train in any dharma at all. And why? Because these dharmas do not exist in such a way as the foolish common people are wont to suppose.